Yeah, I don't know, that's just a weird one. Because, yeah, like you said, the Venomancer would make it so that the Tiny is not going to be as threatening, but Raven's feeling like if we let it through, if we don't get to take it, and they don't have the next upcoming pick, so that would be a realistic threat, then we basically let a hero through the pool that just kills everything that we've built up to this point. So, tough decisions, but I guess if you're Ravens, it's better to be safe than sorry here, because if you lose because you let through a Viper or a Veno pick, you're going to be kicking yourself.
Yeah, it's just the simple. We don't want to lose our lanes. We're in effectively a best of one here, but don't want to lose our lanes. I think also though very smart from Infinity. Of course, Kara, very well known. You kind of know what type of hero and how he's going to play it. I think making room for this Abaddon ban is very, very smart. Uh, there again, right there with the Shadow Demon. I think these are very, very accurate bans out against Ravens, just because that's exactly what they need. The Sand King and TA can go in a variety of positions. It could be the carry TA, where I definitely think the hero is more popular. That could go mid. Again, see the Sand King mid time and time again whenever it gets forced away from that lane. Sand King versus Tiny isn't really the worst of lanes. I could definitely see them putting Benjaz up against Lumiere, but at the same time, in banning the CK, again, flexibility. Mariano could be the one taking that to the off lane, but we've seen South American teams be confident enough to actually put that Tiny as a 4. Will that be the way they kind of make things happen? We'll probably know after this pick on Infinity side.
This is a lot of hate for Kara and Dark Demon. Pugna, Abba, Shadow Demon, and now Ogre being banned away. So Infinity, to a certain extent, it makes sense, right? Because you saw what should pretty much be two guaranteed core picks in phase one, but well, I don't know. We'll have to see. Time will tell if this is maybe a slight overreaction with those support bans, but for now they're holding on. They go with the Razor there with their third selection, so if you can get that initial sort of hit onto the Templar Assassin with the static link, then well, Ravens are going to have to look elsewhere for actual damage output, and I don't think you're going to get a whole lot from the Sand King outside of just the burst from the epicenter.
Yeah, and not just that, this Razor is a fantastic forcing pick, and do like the Coddle pickup, of course. If it's going to be in the pool, they might as well take it. But this Razor does force this situation where Ravens almost have to pick their next few heroes almost entirely blind. I think the dead ringer here is if they do just pick up Kara's hero, that probably makes the most sense. Of course, a lot of those 5 positions have been taken out. Really, the hate from Infinity is still present, but this Razor is going to try and follow this TA. I think if we see them try and flex the TA around, the problem is that if this is going to be an offlane Razor, and it could be a mid Razor, it really is going to force the Sand King more so than any other hero into a position where I don't think it could be the most ideal. Again, I think Tiny versus Sand King is a fine lane, and if that is where this game is going, I think he's going to be right okay with it. But that's where I think Infinity are 100% going to try and push their advantage here, because Razor versus TA is not a pretty lane. That is a lane that they're going to absolutely try and avoid. And I think that's where Infinity have a few more forcing moves in their playbook. Meanwhile, this 5 pick coming in from Ravens, I don't think really is going to change up all much. I think that's where we might see them pull out something crazy if they ever were going to do something like that.
Yeah, now would be the time, said, right? Because there's really no position 5 support here that I think is going to massively tip the scales, right? There are certainly useful options in the pool, but not going to have any hero getting picked up now for Kara that's just going to be a game changing. But well, I don't know. They could still play it safe. Okay, Treant Protector comes in, and like I said, maybe not game changing, but that is still very useful. Or in the way of sort of durability, a little bit more to harass the enemy. And we saw earlier on in this event just how sort of effective the overgrowth can be at sort of breaking up those team fights.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's here's Pingu. Can't give enough credit to the man. Played out of his mind, but it compounds with this TA where you have so much on the ground, you have so many obstacles in the way for Infinity to really close that gap, and fingers crossed that's going to be our Lumiere Monkey King, because I would absolutely love to see him actually make things work. But that also does put a few more things into perspective, at least for me, because I could definitely see Infinity now making a tiny Razor lane. They keep that balance in the lane. Not just that, you toss back the hero that gets linked, a little bit of a nifty combo there. But at the same time, the Tree Protector still stops that gameplay just a little bit more. If they really are going to be forced into this TA versus Razor lane, the Tree Protector is going to do everything in his power to really stop that Razor from approaching. Not to mention, if you can ever force that Razor to link the Tree Protector, huge win, because that is going to be the pressure. It's going to be the Razor trying to move past the tree, getting onto the TA, and I think that's where Kara is going to be very important in that lane to make sure it's just not an absolute wash. But that's also where, if this is going to be a Lumiere Monkey King, he should have a very decent time. He's going to be under a lot of magic damage pressure. Sand King and Keeper of the Light are definitely able to output onto him, but it's where Monkey King and Sidelight, he's just always able to pull something out. And if you're not careful, give him a few too many levels, the lane becomes irrecoverable. It's where if Monkey King ever gets a level advantage, a level 4 Sand King can't do much versus a Monkey King who's level 6, 5. It really is a slippery slope.
To do everything in their power to sort of keep that Monkey King slowed down. In the meantime, there we go. Ravens were taking a lot of their reserve time to think over the bans here, so decision does get made. It's the Darkseer that they remove, which is always kind of interesting. A hero that I still wouldn't really say is popular, but it's almost a sort of default fallback option in a lot of circumstances, so you ban it out here, and okay, not going all in on one position. They'll ban the Luna as well. So Ravens kind of still shrugging their shoulders a little bit here with regards to where they think some of these opposing heroes are actually going.
Yeah, and there certainly still is that flexibility. For Monkey is certainly not out of the question. Lumiere could still be taking this tiny. Mariano is not 100% going to be this Razor. We could see PP take it. That's where I think Infinity have drafted themselves a very fluid lineup. They really are not locked into anything, where Ravens, I think, are more so held to that standard. And man, if only they could pick Medusa right now. That would be just an absolute stomping hero pick. But then you're Medusa TA, and then you're feeling a little bit ugly. The map's feeling a little bit small, I think, if they go for that hero. But boy, oh boy, what a Medusa game it could be. But at the same time, I think Ravens, they need somebody who's going to start the fight, that's going to go in, that isn't going to get counterpicked by PP. They need just that kind of mid hero that's just going to kind of make space happen. And hey, a lot of spirits available, aside from the spirit, but if they wanted to, they could certainly try and spin that in their favor. Oh, Flesh, okay. They're going to take the buildings instead and double down on a lot of that kind of objective gameplay, but a little bit disconcerting. At least that's a hero that is going to pair fairly nicely with the Kato. Just having those drive-by chakras is going to make this Lesh's life so much easier.
Mm-hmm. I am maybe a little bit concerned, though, looking at the lineup, although... Ooh, okay, now I'm a little more concerned as well. As a Bat Rider comes in, but you have a Leshrac who loves to be in the middle of the fight. That's kind of his jam, right? And if he gets a BKB, then he can just run about as he pleases. But you're going to be running into static link range. You're going to be running into Wukong's command. You're going to be running into potential static storm plays. So will the Lesh be able to build himself up durability-wise fast enough to actually be in the middle of those fights to do the damage they need?
Yeah, and I think that really is going to be the biggest concern, especially with the pickup of the Bat Rider. It makes that approach even more difficult. It's, again, another situation that we see arising, and I feel like it's been arising all day today. You need to be going all in. It's Benjez leading the push, and then Kara getting the overgrowth, and then Leshrac can go in, and then maybe Dad finds his movement afterwards. But it's just going to be obstacle after obstacle that they have to clear, and they have to be really careful, because Infinity's lineup is made for punishing overextensions. They have the glimpse, they have the toss back, they have the lasso. They're just able to dislocate these Ravens heroes so easily that really, I think once they're in, if they are not absolutely killing you, if they are not ending that fight really in just a matter of seconds, they are not going to be very happy sticking around after the fact. And I think it's that decisiveness that's going to need to be ever present in Ravens' minds, because if they get stuck in a fight that they're not 100% sure they can take, that indecision is going to cost them their lives.
But the problem is that they don't exactly have a lineup that can just pull the 180 and say, you know what, we don't want this fight. Now we're out, right? Once they commit, you kind of
Yeah,
stuck. So
it's live or die. It's I guess ride or die at that point, right?
yeah.
They gotta just go. And then Infinity, they get to pick and choose, I think, just a little bit more. But hey, that's also where this is going to be a Monkey Can Carry. This is going to be playing versus a TA. Monkey Can Carry hates playing versus anti-armor. Deso is brutal. It's just, even if you are in that Wukong's command, you could still very easily die by just these heroes running on top of you. Not to mention, they have a very good mix of both magic and physical damage on the Raven side. So once they get on you, they can certainly take you out. But that is, again, everything is about the approach. Everything's about the initiation. It's that cut and dry.
It's I don't know. It's a weird sort of dichotomy, right? Because on the one hand, the strategy being that simple can be a little bit boring, but just because you know what the strategy is doesn't mean you can do it. We were watching a game just in this series where Chrono Mortimer Kisses was kind of the turn your brain off, make a play sort of thing, and they weren't able to do that. So just because you know what you need to do doesn't mean that you can do it, doesn't mean the other team is going to let you do it as well. So see how this goes. Is Kara okay? Just a quick trip to the lane that pops half the smoke here on Infinity, and if they actually spot him, oh boy, that's... I don't know if Kara knew how much danger he was potentially walking into there, but he's going to be okay. The question is, did they actually see him put this ward down? They could de-ward it, but I'm not sure they did.
I don't think they did, and that is going to be a very important aspect of this lane, because, again, the name of this game for Kara is going to be getting on top of Mariano, forcing that awkward trade where Mariano can't really afford not to link him, but he still needs to get to the TA in the wave. It's going to be that little navigation that is really going to make or break things for top, but it's something that this lane ward is certainly going to make Kara's life just that little bit easier. But I think if they can succeed, then this TA can realistically just get shut out. At the same time, Genix on his Tiny. We'll have to see what he's able to do. You have to start Boots on Tiny. We'll see if he gets a sal for his teammate, or if it is really going to be Mariano kind of left by himself. But with this Boots 4 hero, you're always going to see Genic go for Bounty Runes. You're going to see him try to deny and really make Nengo Flow's game that much more difficult. But in doing so, you kind of have to sack the Razor. But these early levels, they're going to be everything for this early game.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's going to depend, because if Mariano does get sacrificed here, it's a matter of whether Kara and Dot are going to be able to really punish him at all. Because if this just turns into Razor farms and TA farms, then sure, that's a concern because your TA is building up, but Mariano will just sit there and soak up the experience. But right now, you see the bullying coming into effect. This is what you grab the Treant for in these early stages. He's just able to do so much damage, and Razor can't really hold his own right now.
In the meantime, look what they're doing. Cut the wave. Unfortunately, lost to range creep. Well, what can you do there? This unfortunately means that Genic will not get his level 2, but I think actually accept a little bit of the XP. We'll see if Genic decides to just kill the wave or tries to only get half. Okay, got the full wave. He'll be able to kill the range creep pretty easily, but Mariano is unfortunately really in no man's land now, right where Kara wants him, and this is going to be a lot of damage that this Razor's going to comp.
Yeah, this is not fun. Mariano just has to fall back, and, well, how far does Kara want to take this? He's got 5 seconds left for the natures, but yeah, he's not quite fast enough where he was going to be able to make that play actually happen. But this lane straight sucks for the Razor right now. He's not even level 2 yet, just struggling massively, whereas the TA on the other side just doesn't really have a care in the world right now.
Yeah, and pretty pull from Kara. Genic's going to have to intercept it here and hope that the Pumpkins don't re-aggro, and he will do that very well, but look at the damage. It's going to be traded out now.
What? Ooh. Well, even if that hits the TA, I don't know how effective that's going to be. That's still a level 1 static link that Mariano was rocking and had already used the plasma field, but Genic at least doesn't get caught. He's able to fall back. That's got to count for something, and that first link was not it.
Yeah, and this is how well Ravens have played for these first levels. Dad has boots. He has the boots advantage over the Razor. He can just continuously do that, and that's where, again, the focus will switch over to bullying Kara, but that's exactly what Kara wants. So I think Ravens just playing really well on these early levels. It's got to be frustrating for Infinity.
That was an interesting attempt there. Genic did get the toss back, but a toss back to a Razor who had already used his static link, so there really wasn't much to be done there. Even if you're just looking at it from a harassment perspective, it didn't really do all that much damage anyway, so I don't know. Genic and Mariano are trying to do whatever they can. Now they've got the link up again, so they'll make that same maneuver, and I think this time they should get Kara. But it's whether Mariano will survive it. He already picked up first blood, so at least he's got that. The Fairy Fire, though... Okay, he was holding it in reserve just in case, but your TA is not going to dive that far. So, well, the first toss play almost kind of feels like that was a bait. Like, Genic was basically trying to convince Ravens that their timing was off, and then once you have the static link up, they go right back in for it again, and this time it connects.
Yeah, it's fairly simple. It's nice gold to give over to Mariano. He gets to close, I guess you could say, the boots advantage that the TA had over him. But at the same time, his lane is still kind of in disarray. At the very least, with the side blades, the lane will push in maybe a little bit harder if the TA decides to go for that. But at the same time, I feel like Mariano is really not thrilled with how things are going, especially with Genic leaving to refill PP's bottle.
Yeah, it's a nice first blood play, but it doesn't really change the balance of power in that middle lane. But now Genic, well, maybe this is doable. You need the stacks on Yengo Flow first, though. That's always going to be the issue here. If you try to make the toss-back play and then start to get the Napalm stacks up, I just feel like they're not going to have the stacking damage fast enough. And speaking of damage, bottom lane, Prada going to get taken down. Dark Demon is the one to get the kill. Lumiere is... well, he was thinking about it, I'd say. Boundless Strike was at the ready, but did not go all the way in for it, so Raven's able to get their first kill up, and this just got to be a fun situation for Benjaz. Just the constant flow of mana, the sandstorms are just out every single time. He can burrow whenever he wants, so there's a lot more room for him to play more aggressively.
Yeah, also very interesting to see him not go for any points in the caustic. I think it is in large part due to just how much surplus mana he has to throw around. So having his spells is certainly a way for them to win this lane. But at the same time, I feel like Lumiere is right where he wants to be, and Ben just has to constantly be careful. Of course, Prada did go down before, but it's just such an obnoxious lane to deal with, aside from the mana aspect. And actually,
Oh,
yeah, Dark Demon. Oh, this
what
is
a
such a good play.
nice, yeah. Lumiere, the absolute second that he gets that Jingu, they both just flip around and go straight onto the Coddle. That's fantastic, because I think both of the players for Ravens assumed that Benjaz was the target, so I don't know if Dark Demon was getting out even if he saw that coming, but definitely didn't get a chance to respond.
Yeah, now I'm looking mid. Mango Flow did actually scan out the Tiny, but he's being very aware of this upper area. He probably thinks there's a ward there for how much time the Tiny has spent, but again, it is in tow. The TA continues to free farm. The Tiny is not top. Mariano is still just kind of doing Razor things, hoping for the best here. But at the same time, I'm getting a little bit concerned, especially if Kara has time to stack camps. Things are certainly going to boil over eventually, even though, let's see, is going to make it? Got it.
Well, camps being stacked up on both sides of the map. Genic just trying to be annoying.
He tossed to the bat? Oh my god.
Oh, he did. Kara's just going to go for a quick TP, and there's the lasso. He's not letting that one go. PP able to find his first kill, and, well, that is a innovative solution there, right? Toss into the river, find themselves a relatively easy kill, and, well, unfortunately for Genic, he really still can't do much to disrupt the jungle right now, but I don't think you care. You found a kill, and now all of a sudden, without the backup, your Templar Assassin is maybe not at 100% in that lane, and if you fall back to the jungle, there aren't any stacked camps to take.
Nope, they really hit at a very nice time. At the same time, it's just a sentry battle, a battle that narrowly ends up winning for Infinity. They do get dewarded, but they get the kill on the Sand King, and Lumiere is starting to get speed. It's something you never really want to see. But at the same time, back to top, just now, Dot hit level 6. Usually you want to get level 6, you kind of create this home where your opponents can't really approach very easily up to your tower, but because of how everything ended up happening, it just feels like now there isn't really that easy way for him to approach back top. Meanwhile, Benja certainly doesn't want to give up his lane bottom, so we're going to see that kind of cramped posture, I think, from these heroes, and it's also where, unfortunately, unless Nango Flow gets a rune, Leshrac is not going to be rotating. He's got a very interesting skill build, 1-3-1, something to punish the towers, but okay, Epi bottom. That's a nice kill.
Find Prada, just as Genic was trying to sort of rotate his way over as well, so they'll break that up, and now up in the top lane, Mariano, well, that is an issue. With the Tiny leaving the lane, and I actually do want to point out as well, the Razor, he popped to the Eye of the Storm, on a creep wave that sort of got pulled away from the tower. I think he was hoping to clean up the wave and then get onto the tier 1. Instead, it leaves him without his ult to protect himself, but...
Oh, look at this. PP farming the ancient stack.
Ravens, they don't know that this is actually happening, so really not a whole lot they can do. And even if they do bring heroes over here, Genix here, Lumiere moved into position, so just gonna steal this away for free.
Yeah, and this is highly unfortunate for Benjaz because that's his stack. That's his namesake. That's what gets him the Blink Dagger and allows him to kind of explode onto the game. Now it's, well, BB's. And that's his Boots of Travel finished with 300 gold in the bank. That is not bad at all.
Nice play from Infinity. Mariano, meanwhile, rotates his way mid as well after his previous death, so might just look to group up, get some damage onto this tier 1. It's getting healed up by the living armor, so Treant Protector continues to be obnoxious, but they are still getting damage onto it, and Yengo Flow feels the need to sort of rotate his way over, but he already used the Edict, so if he goes in now, they're not going to have all that much damage from it as it is basically ending. But on the other hand, you don't want to give away your tier 1 tower for free as they're trying to push in. Genic able to dodge the stun. Meanwhile, over to the other side, Benja's actually already burrow struck, so he's going to get glimpsed back into that kinetic field. They lock him down, they take him out. Genic does eventually fall, but for support, if you're Infinity, you are A-okay with that trade-off. The only downside is your push onto the tier 1 got broken up a bit.
Yeah, and really, I think it was just them kind of forcing a reaction out of their opponents here. They're certainly going to take the farm, but that kill on the Sand King, it just makes that Blink Dagger feel even further away. And he's rushing for the Blink Dagger as well. You're not going to see the Sand King be your defender of towers, being the hero that just stands in front and just makes the push take forever, because he'll die. He gets very easily blown up here in this game. And at the same time, so many heroes in the river. They've got rune control, arcane rune for PP. He's certainly able to walk in, and if they are making stacks, you know he's going to be looking to steal those out. It just feels like Ravens might need to take a step back right now. They really need to just prioritize the Sand King and get something done, but the car coming in mid, you know Infinity are not going to give this up. They're going to keep on this push. Yannick, oh!
And okay, that's a little risky to be honest, but he's able to make a clean getaway, and Ravens are just getting sort of led around here. They have 4 heroes mid. They need to try and find something, but there's no immediate opportunity, and that dust actually hit onto Benjaz, but fight under tier 1, maybe not great. They know Kara is here, although Kara is not 6. He has no overgrowth. PP, where's your backup? He needs somebody to come help him, or maybe he doesn't. He just gets the solo kill. Now the Static Storm deployed onto the 2 supports. Kara gets picked off. They'll get the glimpse back now onto Dark Demon, and he's not going to be able to get away. Mariano picks up the double. Now they're onto the tier 1 tower, and I genuinely thought that the Treant was there because he had his ult at the ready, but he hadn't hit level 6, and there's no defense to be made. And now elsewhere on the map, Da doesn't have any backup, and Lumiere knows it. I don't think he can find the kill by himself, but he can keep the TA involved in the fight. His teammates are coming.
Oh no, he's got to make this decision quick, but
That's a lot of TPs, though. That's a lot of TPs. That's pretty much the whole team. They're going to get a glimpse back onto one of them, but at this point, the moment has passed. Yeah, Prod is dead. Genic goes down as well, and Lumiere might have wanted to quit while he was ahead on that one.
Not very smart, I think, turnaround there. And Prana really gives away his life thinking that he can take the fight if the Leshrac is absent from it, but they really do just bring everyone, giving kills and important XP over to the TA as well. You know, back and forth game. Everybody is really kind of getting pushed to the edge here. In the meantime, though, unfortunately, Benjaz was still getting bullied by that Bat Rider. PP, who is working towards his own Blink Dagger, is probably going to have it at around the same time as Benjaz. Looking up, though, Nengo Flow during all of that gets a regen rune, gets the pressure away from mid, and he's going for an interesting build-up. Just getting a straight-up BKB is certainly a little bit risky, but Kara, does he live? I don't think so.
Nope. That is the overgrowth used there as well, so even once he's back up and into the game, you're looking at about a 60-minute span where that ult will not be, well, at the ready for them. So, Infinity starting to push their way forward. They find the kill, they find the tower.
Oh, mid?
Do they look for more? Yes, they do. They've got the TA. Can they actually kill him? No, they use the glimpse to start the fight, unfortunately. So, not able to lock Dodd down as your TA just barely gets out, but eh, that's a bit of a risky one, but hey, you survive it. You have Blink up now on your Sand King, and you're looking for a return kill. It's Prada. Oh, he's the bait. They get the lasso down, pulling the Leshrac away, and Yengo Flow drop down, taken out. And, they're still kind of hanging around, thinking about it, but I'm not sure how much they can really do, although Benjaz, okay, he's going to try to go into Genic with the ult, and I don't actually think they needed it. Dark Demon kind of got the kill with the Illuminate, and while that's all happening, Dodd is still kind of hanging out mid. There's that static link, there's the kinetic field keeping him locked in, Boundless Strike connecting as well, Templar Assassin just getting sort of knocked around a little bit. He's lasting a lot longer than I thought he would, however, and he's just going to walk away. The supports come in, support and Benjaz, but their presence is enough to sort of turn back the tide. Infinity, I think they sort of took that fight with some health missing as well. That might have played into it a little bit more.
Yeah, and really, without the Tiny of the Disruptor alive, it's a huge risk. And Lumiere, he's taking so much damage. The heal from Dark Demon, he's being very obnoxious. He could go for the TP. Yeah, I was going to say. Should go for the TP, but the Chakra. Okay.
Reducing the cool. Just that little bit. Benjaz gets in for the kill, and man, that kind of wipes out a lot of that initial progress that Infinity had made on the previous fight. They're still up in terms of the kill count, but really not by much in terms of net worth, and Ravens have sort of hit a big milestone. We talked about the Sand King with the Blink Dagger, but your TA is just about done with the Deso, so the damage now is going to be coming online as well.
Yeah, and it's going to be absolutely terrifying to play versus it. I don't see plate mails. I don't see too many tanky items being built up here. And I think, to note, it's the strength of TA in the mid lane, where you get these TA traps, you take a fight where your opponent don't have complete sentry control, and you look over at mid, they've got a few sentries here and there, but the areas that they don't, that's exactly where Dodd is going to play in, and in doing so, he gets just such an advantageous position. And until BKBs, until Force Staffs, until they're actually able to close that gap, he's just kind of playing with his food. And now that the Deso, any team fight that they win, Roche is always going to be the cost. Not to mention he's going to have Max Meld in just one more level. Then suddenly it is going to be that really 20, 15-second Roshan attempt where really, if you're not careful, you just lose it. That's a blink reveal, though, and that's unfortunate for Benjaz.
Lumiere is actually going on a different target, though. He wants Kara, and that is going to force out the Overgrowth. Now they throw down the Static Storm, but without the Kinetic Field to sort of follow it up, that's not a real trap, but doesn't matter. They still find the kills they wanted. Benjaz and Kara will go down. They get the glimpse in onto Dark Demon to pull him back into the fight. And this should be a kill they can pick up. Yeah. Mariano in there with the final right-click, and okay. Infinity respond, put together a solid fight, take advantage of Benjaz just kind of getting oh god, too far forward, but they might have found even more. Nyengo Flow is low on HP and has no mana, but this is always the downside of the Monkey King, at least at this point in the game, right? Once you've used the Boundless, you're kind of tapped out.
Yeah, it certainly is a little bit more of a struggle, but at the same time, you have that glimpse, you have those tools, you get to bring everybody back, except for Dodge, who is still farming incredibly quickly, but I think that really was mainly just Benjaz getting a little bit too far ahead of himself, but you know they're going to look for those opportunities. Any kill they get in this river is going to make that push into the Roche Pit even easier, as well as Nengo Flow just finishing up his BKB. He's going to be able to frontline for his team just a little bit more, but that's where you have to wonder if Infinity scout this out, if they just make the immediate call that we're just going to farm, we're going to sit back. They're close to getting BKBs on pretty much all of their cores, but okay, that's a free kill. Dodge just gets it.
Free kill for your TA, a little bit of gold. Blink Dagger very nearly done, and well, normally you would say, I don't really think we care too much, but that is a Deso. You are getting that little bit of extra damage, and you know, plus 25 as a cap, that's not nothing. Especially for a TA who could just sort of hit you with the meld, and all of a sudden, you're just getting even more thrown out onto you. So, normally I don't think you would care too much about getting picked up there, but if it's the TA who's building this momentum, it is a bit more of a concern as Genic, okay, well, from one death right into another.
Just way too ready for it. They have the ward behind the tower. Yeah, he pings it out. He knows how he died, but I'm really surprised that Infinity very consciously chose to not go for that setup, and I do understand that they are finishing off a lot of their big items. They don't want to fight pre-BKB. They are still very vulnerable to both the overgrowth and that Sand King ulti, but at the
Oh,
same time,
Mariano.
ooh,
They clip him there with the burrow, and that's just too much damage. Even from the low ground, Dot doesn't care. He's got the vision, and they've got the kill. Now they could
they
just
can
go
do this.
Roche. Yeah,
Double meld.
thinking about it. They're gonna go for this. Okay, well, that's a dirty trick. The double meld there, thanks to Dark Demon, is Yanko Flow. Well, he got glimpsed back, but it doesn't matter. Benjaz has the damage. They will find the kill onto Prada. Now Roshan will fall. There's really just nothing to be done by Infinity. They can't contest it.
Yeah, and that's huge. Maybe a few minutes later than in the perfect world you would want, but now TA is not going to be your lasso target. You need to swap over to either the Leshrac or the SK at the beginning of these fights, and unfortunately for Infinity, they really are caught in a rough timing. Everybody is, I want to say, 1 or 2 components away from their BKBs. They don't really want a clean team fight. Genic will finally be able to get his Blink Dagger in this game, but I honestly don't know. It'd be quite the force if they decide to go for a smoke now without these BKBs, and quite a risky one as well, because all it takes is a misplaced Kara, and then suddenly you're giving up the game here. And bottom line, this is very nerve-wracking here. TA is coming in as well.
Oh,
Miss?
okay. There's the whiff. They're going to try and go. And Yengo Flow pops a BKB, but he still gets hit by that lasso. They'll pull him in. Overgrowth from Kara, though. Trying to buy some time. Not enough. Yengo Flow still dead. Kara now next up on the chopping block as they find those 2 kills, but they want even more. Genek gets the avalanche into the tossback. They've caught out the Sand King. Benjaz trapped in the static storm will fall, and now Dark Demon. Can he get away? Nope. Yep, there's the glimpse, pulling him all the way back under the tower. Lumiere starts hacking at him, and okay, Infinity. Pretty much the perfect fight. We don't know how to deal with the TA with 2 lives, so let's just not deal with her. Take a fight where she's not even on the same side of the map. They get 4 kills in a tier 1 tower.
Yeah, and they have the vision. They have this fantastic ward on Raven's place bottom. It's why Benjaz goes for that deep dive, but they don't find the Batrider. PP was so patient waiting there for really everything to meet. When Benjaz misses, it just kind of compounds the issue. And in that fight, Dot actually went on the backline. And the backline, of course, I guess was Lumiere in that situation. He does half of Lumiere's HP. He gets to refocus onto the Leshrac. Leshrac dies in the Wukong's command. I mean, it's just a really bad position fight from Raven, one where they really didn't have any business having such bad positioning, knowing what kind of vision they had, and then they get picked apart. So now it's going to be Infinity who paused the game, and really all those kills just supplemental. That was a fight, a huge gamble, as I thought that Raven really would have been much more ready for it, because now BKBs are on the table. Everyone is getting it. Everybody's having them flying out in really the next minute or so, and then I really don't think Infinity are going to be afraid of all too much. They still have to deal with the TA's negative armor damage, but aside from that, it's actually Dodge who's going to be under pressure to have a BKB so he can survive after the fight.
Yeah, now that the BKBs have been picked up, I mean, you can start building armor. You can start building more ways to deal with this Templar Assassin, but taking the lockdown out of the equation really had to be the first step for them. As there's an interesting smoke. They're in and around the pit. Just kind of waiting to see if anyone gets close, and PP, that's a very bold move, and his BKB, it wasn't there yet. He didn't finish it. And he's dead. PP gone. Genic is going to drop as well. Lumiere might be able to clean up 1 or 2 kills in exchange, but that's not enough. He just TP's out. What were they thinking? I mean, he doesn't have BKB yet. You can't send him in first. That's just... wow.
Not pretty. Not pretty in the slightest. But I think they were really feeling the momentum of the game. If they get a cleaner initiation on that ward, if anybody ventures to the low ground there, I can see why they would have pushed PP to that limit. But I feel like you can almost feel in comms. It's just like, guys, there's 200 gold, and that wouldn't have happened because it wouldn't. Benjaz wouldn't have had a target. They would have triple BKB'd. Sure, Mariano kind of gave up. He went towards that mid wave maybe a little bit sooner than the rest of his team, but still, it's a kind of a sad situation, and I guess they aren't really going to lose or gain any control kind of after the fact there. I feel like Ravens should probably clean up this Observer ward in a few moments here, probably with the Courier coming out, or I guess Dark Demon's going to do the dirty work here with just his Illuminate, but I think this is where the name of the game is just going to be this next Roche. Even though the Aegis is still in the hands of the TA, can't imagine Ravens are going to get too aggressive here, but Infinity, they're on the exact other side of that. This is the play that they should have successfully made a minute ago, but this is still the strength. They've got their 3 BKBs, and
that's
they
a
just
big
caught him.
first pick. Yengo Flow, yeah, that BKB is coming out way too late, but he's going to get taken down. Now there's going to be the lasso in on to Benjaz. They'll pull him away and take him down. And now they
Ooh.
want in onto Dodd. Dodd, though, is going to take Mariano down. He did lose a little bit of damage, but is it going to be enough? Can he win the fight by himself? Not really looking like it. Dark Demon's going to get taken down. There's Wukong's command, but Dodd actually blinks his way past it. He'll get onto Genic instead, take down the Tiny. And Kara, he's just trying to buy some time here as best as he can with the Overgrowth. It's not going to work, however. He will still fall. Once again, they just dance around this Templar Assassin. It would have been nice to burn through the Aegis and take him out, but if you can get 4 kills instead and kind of avoid him, I'll take that too. It's a bit of a bummer that Mariano didn't get a longer static link duration, but he was the distraction and it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, and I mean, you sat there, he got maybe a 2-second link off, and then he died because no armor just yet. He's certainly not the tankiest fella. Really interesting to see him go for this Sange purchase as opposed to just a straight up plate mail. You know, I guess the halberd will certainly make its value worth while once he actually gets the item. But I think that's where both of these teams should probably just look to gear up for Roche, because now, at least until we have Lasso back up again, we can see them go for that play. And PP push to the fringe there. Just a nice trap on that DD when he does get the bottle. It has to be BKB to run away, but that's where finally PP can actually get that lasso onto the TA, and really it's going to be a huge concern because Ravens, it's where the positioning of Carr is going to matter even more, and even then the BKBs are ready. He's got the Blink Dagger. He's really going to have to be incredibly patient on this tree.
He finds his moment. I mean, that could be big, right? Blink in, hit up those 3 BKB targets, and you eat through pretty hefty amount of their duration, but patience will be the sort of ultimate play here for Carr. If he goes too early, kind of saw in some of these fights what happens. It's just an overgrowth that Infinity can just sort of wait out. So find the right moment, although right now Carr is just pushing his way forward. That's a very aggressive ward, but it gets him all the vision that they might have wanted, and well, now is Kara gonna actually live to do anything in this fight? Not really. Now, is there going to be a fight? That's the question. Oh, no, they got Dodd. They're going to hit him up with the toss. BKB comes out. Static Storm a little bit late, though. But they do try and get the lasso down, but they need the damage. Dodd is just holding his own. Now he starts to fall. Lumiere dropping him low. Mariano gets the kill. Now they're on to Nengo Flow. They'll glimpse him. No, they won't. BKB coming into play, and Mariano now has to activate his own BKB just to run away, as Ben just tried to get in with the epicenter, but it doesn't really hit onto anyone. He's just a little late and a little off the mark.
Ooh, I double checked just to make sure, but PP, he would have gotten stunned regardless. He didn't have his BKB. It was still cooling down from his escape bottom lane, but man, blinking into a splitter that fast, that's gotta hurt. That's gotta be a slap in the face just a little bit, but hey, at the same time, they killed TA. That was really the only objective there, I think, from Infinity. They're still building up, but again, I hate to say it, but all these deaths don't really matter. The only thing that matters is that if Roche respawns in 20 seconds, is Ravens able to play off this ward that they've been able to place before, and Infinity unable to really de-ward anything just yet because they need to get their waves out? And if so, how will they march towards that pit? That's all the game is going to kind of boil up to here. Don't think we're really going to see too much substantial growth here. If this is a Roche, long Roche respawn timer, Lumiere looking at his Scotty, that could be a huge uptick in just the control, and it's literally impossible for Ravens to fight into that monkey ring any longer then. It's just purely impossible, and with the medium respawn timer, don't think Lumiere is going to have enough time for that.
Well, yeah, he's so far away from it, all things considered, so I'd have to take the fight without it, about a minute away, but already you can see Infinity trying to sort of establish control around that pit, so they're just gearing up for, oh, the fight that could very well sort of dictate who's in control heading into the late game stage, right? It's just, there aren't any other objectives right now that either team's going to feel comfortable actually pursuing.
Look top. They would need the Lesh here, they would need the TA, and they do bring him in with, but this is still very scary.
Okay. Just a little game of chicken at this point. Neither team really committing fully, but again, like I said, we're 20 seconds out from Roche. Nobody wants this sort of massive fight right now. But, oh, okay. They finally do get that D-ward, so Vision out from their own west side jungle, and now they're going to smoke. So, I said nobody wanted the fight before Roche respawns. That may not be the case anymore. If Infinity can find a pickoff here, that would set them up for that Roche attempt, but they're kind of going in the wrong direction at the moment.
Yeah, and as soon as Ravens show on this mid wave, it's going to be pretty obvious how they know. It's unfortunate nobody went to that top left corner of the map, so that way Infinity could have cut off that creep pressure and get something on that tier 2, but scouting the Roche is honestly just as good. Unfortunately, they are not the team that kills Roche. The TA will always do it faster. They can't really initiate that fight. Lumire's not nearly farmed enough, but at the same time, giving up this cliff, it's going to be Ravens running in, probably with buybacks, with really could be another smoke for all we know, because they need to establish that high ground control. We know how game deciding it really can be. At the same time, though, they cannot afford to go back for this mid wave. They'd love to cut it on the low ground here, but anyone ventures away from this cliff, we really are in kind of a tight game here as Kara circles the entire enemy team, because yeah, it's pretty obvious what's going on here, and they're going to know that Roche is going to be 100% respawn in another minute or so, but they also are very aware that their opponents can't start it. So it's a very tense position, as it's actually, well, Ravens that take the other cliff. So no one's going anywhere. We are kind of in gridlock here, but a gridlock that Ravens is honestly favored in because they've got the pressure in mid.
Hmm. And now you see Dodd finish off the Hurricane Pike there as well, just sort of bought it out in full. And honestly, that could be a pretty solid difference maker here, because we've seen there's been a couple of instances where the static goes down, but maybe the kinetic field doesn't sort of get popped up in time. You can get yourself out from the static link, maybe get yourself out of range of even something along the lines of the lasso as well. So could be something to save the day if you're the Templar Assassin, and if you don't need it defensively, then it's guaranteed right clicks onto any real target that you can see. So could be a nice little buff up there for the Templar Assassin in, well, whatever fight comes our way next, because we've got ourselves a sort of Cold War scenario here. Nobody wants to make the move, but while that happens, that push mid becoming more and more relevant. Tier 2 tower gets taken, and over on the other side, Infinity just can't afford to move.
And on the regen rune, everybody is prodding.
Kara dropped. Okay, they find that first kill, but now they need to deal with Ben Jazz, who fakes out the ult. Did not fake out the BKB, though. That was real, but he's now falling back, and they're going to recall Kara into the fight as PP. PP, you don't have a lot of HP. I don't know if this is a great move. He's got the blink, though, so you could find a target, but it's Lumiere who actually finds it first. Take Kara down again. 2 deaths, no ult, and now they're going to try to take the fight. Wukong's command being channeled out. Ben Jazz, meanwhile, actually got disrupted before he could ult. He is finally going to get it off there, looking to get onto Lumiere. They get the knockback as well, but they still just don't have enough damage. The Monkey King refuses to go down. PP now gets off the lasso, pulling the Templar Assassin away from the reinforcements. And Dodd, he's not going to be able to survive this. He's now disarmed by that halberd, and all of a sudden, Yengo Flow is standing alone here. He's going to try to TP out, but there's no way. He's glimpsed back in. Lumiere, though.
Lumiere.
Oh, Lumiere. Oh, you greedy, greedy man. And oh,
He's
my
doing
God.
it.
He greeds out. PP kind of makes the same mistake. Eventually, Gennett comes in to put an end to the madness, but, well,
And
even after all
nothing
that,
happens.
yeah, even after all that, nothing is really going to change. They can't do Roche with the supports alive. They can't really push a tower, so... Woo, a bunch of people died for nothing, really. But, I don't know. In terms of the kill count, Infinity come out a little bit ahead, obviously, but the lack of significant movement after the fact really just kind of resets us.
Now, it's so many fantastic plays in that fight. Gennett keeping Benjez out of the immediate rego onto the Monkey King. The lasso at the last second from PP after knowing the Sand King was out of everything. I mean, then unfortunately Lumiere overestimating how much he would have healed from his Jingu and then dying to the Leshrac after the fact with the rest of his core friends. I mean, it's a crazy team fight, and again, it's hard to say that nothing really changes after the fact, but a lot of XP going the way especially of the Monkey King and of the Leshrac, who are both having tomes in their inventory, both of those 25s mattering so much in this game, but unfortunately, I don't think really all too much is going to change after the fact here. We're going to see some huge items picked up, though. I think both the T and the Monkey King, they want to take a break from this Roche standoff. They want to get their Scotty. They want to get their Daedalus. They want to get that little bit more damage out onto each other. And I think especially if Lumiere can somehow wait for his 25, that'd be the most ideal. But, oh, glimpse. Okay, BKB. This could be enough for them to smoke.
Oh, that just doesn't have it. Meanwhile, PP just finished off an Aether Lens, so little bit of extra range to try and get that lasso in there. And look at him, just surging his way forward. He's got a blink BKB, so he knows if he runs into anybody, he's either initiating or he's just going to walk away. So feel fairly confident, but do they feel confident enough to do Roshan? That is the question. Benja's not having a BKB is nice, but they're not quite committing for it. Yeah.
It's so funny that Infinity just can't start Roche. Their lineup just simply is unable to be the initiators there, so they just have to tiptoe around. It's just the way that the Razor and the Batrider have built up, and they're not doing anything wrong by any means, but they just can't contribute very much. So it's purely a stalemate. It is literally just a waiting game at this point. They need Raven to come to the pit. They need Lumiere to get more items, and in the meantime, Ravens are, I think, getting the better end of the deal presently. They're able to farm up a buyback on top of the Stadios on the TA, which I think is going to be very important coming for the Roche defense. But most importantly, if Infinity can get this top outpost after they take up this tier 2, that buyback is not nearly as scary. That's a much longer time that the TA is not able to return to the fight. Anyone to be able to return to the fight. But the smoke, it could very easily catch someone off guard. I'm a little bit nervous.
And worth pointing out at this point, moused over it there, you've got your Templar Assassin and your Leshrac, who have both hit level 25. So you've got the Meld Bash, you've got the Edict Explosions. That honestly is a massive buff to them, especially considering Infinity don't have anyone who's reached that same that
short
same
blinked.
point as Benjaz. Well, I'm not 100% sure he wanted to necessarily be in that pit. So that might have still worked out to his advantage, as you stopped the Roche attempt, but he didn't necessarily put himself too far forward to get caught. But you see, now we're back to this situation. Both sides in their respective trenches, looking out over no man's land. Just like World War One, except there was no Roche in the middle of the trenches in World War One, as far as I know. I wasn't there.
Yeah, and, well, Infinity, they've got the posture. They're going for the longest wrap they could possibly go for. And Kara, it's so funny. He's out of observer wards. Everything is just being cleared out by this gem. He is the ward right now. Oh,
They got the last one to the TA. They need this kill. Kara, he's still stuck up there, and they're still trying to take this fight, even with the tree sort of being self-cut. Dodd, he's dropping low. Dodd gets taken down. They get the glimpse back now. Or tried to get the glimpse back, but I think the BKB canceled it, but Benjaz will still fall. They've got free reign to go in onto everyone else. Yengo Flow, though, doing his best to try and fight up. Can Lumiere win this one by himself? He's doing a fair bit of damage now. He gets the Jingu back up, but Dodd buys back, rejoins the fight. And they swung it their way. There was a buyback from Mariano as well as Prada sneaks in on the backline. Now Genek pushing forward. Yengo Flow taken down, so Dodd all of a sudden doesn't have a lot of backup. He is getting reinforcements coming, though. Benjaz is back in. Buyback was committed by Yengo Flow as well, but he has to TP onto the tier 2 tower mid, so he's going to be slow to rejoin. And meanwhile, the fight is still going. Mariano trying to maintain his separation from the Templar Assassin while Genek gets caught on that sort of east side high ground, but he will now pop his buyback. Well, this is the payoff we were hoping for, right? All of that tense sort of dancing around each other results in a massive fight. What buybacks are even left? There is one on PP, and that's it.
and you know what the kicker is? Infinity still can't do Rush. they still can't do anything about this situation. They're stuck here, but oh, Benjaz, he could be the one to change this game. If he finds anybody, they still have their BKBs. It's one advantage they have, but I think everything is just going to level out now, and you have to favor the team with the Batrider, with the Monkey King. He just hit 25 on Lumiere as well. This game is absolutely ridiculous. Not to mention Prada got the Ags. Yep, he is ready to roll. But man, what a crazy initiation as well. I mean, unfortunately, PP cut Lumiere's tree with the Firefly. That's what I screamed in the middle of the fight, because don't want that to happen. That's pretty nightmare situation if they somehow found a turn onto him, but well, we're gonna be here another 5 minutes, Kmart.
Yeah, it's kind of looking that way, because as you said before, they just can't. They have to find a fight. They can't do Roche on the side of Infinity, but hey,
Lasso, the glimpse, they want anything. They want a BKB, they want a force, they want absolutely. It's so sad just watching them have all this control and just be unable to do nothing. Nengofo actually showed bottom, though. Oh, okay, this could be it. This could be their moment.
They should know, though, that there's a recall still on the Coddle, so I don't know if that's going to be their moment, but Benjas, okay, makes the move, gets onto the Batrider, but there's going to be that lasso pulling Benjas away. Meld Bash, though, prevents him from getting out. Kara now popping the ult, keeping him locked in place, but Lumiere, with that extra ring on the Wukong's command, just has so much area denial as Benjas is going to be dropped. Kara will now fall as well. And Ravens, they thought they had an opening. Unfortunately, for them, they'll lose two heroes who don't have buybacks. Benjaz is on cooldown, and Kara doesn't have the gold for it as they try to get onto Genic, but there's going to be a Ghost Scepter to just break that up. And now, well, now they'll try Roche. I mean, they have the advantage, but their lineup still isn't great at it. But with Benjaz dead for so long and with no way to buy back into the game, a slow Roche will still do the trick for them.
It's finally time. We get to move away from the pit. We get to move away from this terrible area. But hey, it worked out. I think really MVP of that fight. It was a small aspect of it, but Mariano getting that Heaven's Halberd off before the TA's BKB. Everyone is kiting at Dodd at this point. I think Dodd himself is really regretting forcing himself into the Swiftling purchase because it's Ghost Scepter, it's Halberd, it's all of these disables, it's the slows, it's the kinetic fields. There's just so much that he has to deal with that you have to be a little bit concerned with how big these team fights are getting, how many spells are actually getting off, and unfortunately, I think for both sides, nobody is really focusing these supports. The only one who seems to consistently die in these fights is actually just the Sand King because, well, by nature of his hero, he is in the middle of everything. He's the one who's getting, hit by everything, but everyone is getting all of their spells off, and I feel like you have to favor Infinity in that situation, just with the more BKB piercing abilities, with the more farm, just when everything is on the floor. I feel like Infinity have got to take these fights, and I think now with the Scotty almost picked up by the Monkey King as well, I think this game is getting only scarier for Dodd especially. He has to be even more cautious with how he actually positions.
Just realized something looking at it. Genic is transitioning into a damage dealer. He's the one who
Oh, he's
took
got
the
a Moon
shard.
Shard.
He's got the Moon Shard, the Ags Shard, so... Well... I mean, he doesn't look much like it right now, but once the damage starts coming in, I mean, you basically got yourself a
He's
fourth
still
core.
a tiny. He's still a tiny. He still has 22 or 20 armor for free. He still has 300 damage. I mean, it'll help them push. Hey.
There's just an issue on the other side of things looking at Ravens, because as Infinity are starting to get a fourth damage dealer online, Ravens core, or excuse me, their supports are going to start to shrink a little bit more, because the Treant is a little bit maxed out in terms of just his baseline kit, right? He's got a Blink of Force and his ult, that's kind of it, unless he just goes for crazy luxury items or an Aghanim Scepter or something. Similar scenario for your Keeper of the Light. So they are not going to be able to significantly increase their contribution until we get very late into this match, whereas Infinity feel like they've got progression coming up much sooner.
Yeah, also get the Penta Edge Sword onto Lumiere. Just kind of nice stuff everywhere for him. Again, the Scotty can't really mention it enough. It's going to feel great. Mariano getting a refresher. It is feeling like Infinity are ready for this next stage of the game. PP's also got a refresher queued up, and Kara he's walking here.
Yeah, that's not a great place to be, all things considered, as he gets taken down, and they would rather not use a buyback in this point in the game, so they're just going to have to back off with everyone else. But that means Infinity are pretty much free to take the tier 2 tower mid. I think they got to wait. Yeah, wait for their creep wave. But full creep wave, 2 siege creeps, Aegis in hand. If they want the tower, they're going to get it.
Now the map is, unfortunately for Raven, it's kind of closing in. We're seeing them really get pushed away. Yeah, PP's done so much with this gem picked up by his teammates. He's just been able to deward really everything. I feel like Raven has been really in the dark for such a long time now, and I mean, even look over at bottom lane, Benders is just forced to be back over by the tier 3 because the only hero that's really allowed to be out right now is the TA. It almost feels like I'd love to see Dodd get maybe an Ags just having another easy out if we do see that kind of dropped chain stun on him, but I think this is really just Infinity with their Aegis translating the map. Scotty's done on the Monkey King. They're really able to kind of do whatever they want now. I think the biggest problem, honestly, for Raven is just how they contest with these refreshers. That's where suddenly your overgrowth is not going to matter when they can just pop a refresher and BKB the second time, and then suddenly that control that you've been almost banking on this entire game, it all falls on Benjaz, getting everybody really caught off guard. I think Raven almost need a smoke to fight. Otherwise, this is going to happen in this push. no one's in the base. There's gonna be 5 TPs back.
Yeah, they've got to just scramble to get defenders in position, but by the time they're there, Tier 3 Tower's already lost all of its health. They're just going to be able to take this, glimpse, okay. Not actually catching Yango Flow out, but the Tier 3, there we go. Does eventually fall, Lumiere gets it, no response really, and this is almost kind of the worst case scenario because you had 4 or 5 heroes TP back and then they didn't take a fight, so now they're just being forced to maneuver in response to Infinity and not really accomplishing much by doing it, and they're still in Aegis for a bit over a minute and a half.
Yeah, what they need to do is they need to deep ward, they need to gamble pushing in the mid and the bottom lane, and then ideally you would smoke, but because it's into an Aegis, I feel like there's still going to be that hesitancy from them, and unfortunately, this is what you do with a huge advantage. You force your entire opponent to TP back into the base, you farm all of the lanes that they just pushed in, you take the entire jungle, and then at the end of the day, unless your opponent smoked out of their base, well, they're still stuck in their base, and I think that scan barely clipped a hero here, so they might be able to make a call here intuition-wise. If they catch him bottom, this is horrific, but it would also be quite bad if they get this mid lane all the way in, and suddenly these heroes are ready to siege, they're ready to push, but they're going aggressive. They saw the courier. They know someone's down here.
Well, not trying to get too far ahead of themselves, trying to maintain cohesion here as a unit as well, so they will push forward slowly, but are getting close, and there's going to be PP jumping in. He managed to get the lasso down. They drop the Static Storm on top of it. That's an Aghanim Scepter Static Storm too, so BKBs can't come out in response. And they're just going to start losing heroes. Dodd dead. Benjaz dead. Yengo Flow looking to TP himself home. Looks like he'll make it out. His teammates may not be as fortunate. They've got the... they got the Treant Protector locked down, and... well, this is not looking good for the defense right now, because Raven's buyback status is a little rough. TA... there we go. Just got hers back off cooldown. 15 seconds for Yengo Flow, but he's actually short on gold. So if the Leshrac falls here, you are going to have a little bit of a staggered sort of response. Because yes, you can buy back with everyone else, but your Lesh is going to still be out of the fight.
Yeah, and I'm kind of doing the math in my head here, seeing how this is going to play out. After they kill bottom racks, it's still going to be about 60 seconds on the TA, so that could be enough to just simply force the buyback and then look for something else. The problem is if they do give up both of these racks, when it comes to top, it's going to be about 20 seconds on the TA's respawn timer, and then you really don't want to buy back, so they really are kind of banking on their ability to hold right now. Unfortunately, they're still kind of getting it done here, and I think maybe that's the underestimation of Genic with this Moonshard. He really is outputting damage that is substantial on these buildings, and it is going to be very awkward. They're going to be happy with the Glyph Force, but again, if they can force their opponents on the low ground here, they're very aware at how important this TA is. This is still just going to be, I think, another Rax here. This might have bought enough time, though, so TA won't be forced into that awkward buyback position.
EP was trying to push forward, doesn't have his lasso up, but even the knockback, yep, there it is. They get the knockback into the Abatos, into the Static Storm. They've caught out the Leshrac. They need to be able to bring him down quickly, though, because again, the Lesh doesn't have his money for buyback. They will finish him off. And this is the nightmare scenario, because your TA got forced into her buyback, and there is no Lesh to act as that second damage dealer.
Yeah, they kind of got forced into the nightmare situation. It didn't feel like the worst buyback. It still had maybe 50, 60 seconds, but at the very least, you could say you claw onto your mid-melee racks. You still have Glyph, but you really don't get to progress the game state any further. And as a four-man squad, unless they really are feeling confident about themselves, I don't think we're going to see this move out. You see them just buddied up underneath this ward bottom, hoping that there's a mistake. Probably in PP, if anyone. He's the only one I can really expect to come down to this bottom area of the map, but PP himself, he knows you get the TA, you win the game. You buy back, or rather you BKB, you run out with that overgrowth, and then suddenly the game really is kind of over. That's why I think he's solo smoked right now. He knows the importance of this game right now. See what happens as the spider legs forward.
He's getting in there. Blake lasso, got him. Gonna pull him back in. They get the Wukong's command down, and Dodd is straight dead. No buyback available. And that might just be the end of it. Dark Demon's going to get cleaned up as well. Double kill for Genic. And, I mean, they can try on the side of Ravens, but with their two main damage dealers down, there just doesn't seem to be a lot they can do. As that is not a great move from Benjaz. Wow. Yeah, he's going to buy back, but at this point, it's just kind of, it's too late. The Ancient is under attack. Even if they called the GG now, I think the Ancient would fall before they would get it off. So Infinity taking a victory lap, pushing their way into the fountain, cleaning up a couple of extra kills, but oh, the kills don't matter nearly as much as the win itself, as Infinity, with the reverse sweep, they drop the first match, they come on strong with back-to-back victories, and we'll be moving on to the upper bracket finals.
I think that's the first time I've seen that Disruptor 25. That was
That was
kind of
massive.
ridiculous looking. That was kind of crazy. But hey, at the same time, you got to give props to both teams. They held the line. They really knew the importance of their positioning there. I think, if anything, just so sad that Benjaz wasn't able to kind of carry his team through the latter half of that game. It really felt like his initiations is what made or broke them. And I mean, it's crazy how long we had that standstill on the Roche. I mean, it's crazy that we lost, what was it, 8 of our heroes there, only with the initial survivors being that Tiny and Disruptor, and then Genic, of course, buying a Moonshard, because he's just a cool guy. But still, just incredibly patient, it's incredibly cautious play. I mean, for a series in which nobody gets eliminated, I mean, these people were playing for their lives. It was kind of a crazy series, a crazy turn of events. But man, Game 3 did not disappoint.
Yeah, that was what we were kind of hoping for after the maybe not boring, but not as exciting sort of one-sidedness that was game two. You were kind of hoping for the rubber match that things were going to get a little bit more intense, and intense is definitely what we had there. That standoff around the pit was just kind of nail biting for a pretty extended amount of time. But if you're Infinity, very nicely done, right? They don't panic, they don't overextend. Maybe PP goes in a little bit early once or twice, but take a look at his death count, only 3 deaths for the game. So when he was making those mistakes, it was very, very rare, and a lot of the times Ravens weren't really punishing it either.
Yeah, and at the same time, and as much as we can gush about this TA, it is another hero, another carrier that is on that timer. You are going to get to a point where it becomes too much for you to handle by yourself. You need to rely on your teammates, and sometimes you are at the whim of the matchup here. And of course, we saw how impossible it was to fight after that Roche was over, after really all the pressure was broken. There just wasn't a great way for them to fight after the fact. I think it's why Infinity just kind of take the victory, I want to say very quickly after that standoff, just because Ravens simply can't fight. They can't control the map long enough. Maybe bottom lane, if they keep that chainstone onto PP a little bit longer, things look a little bit more hopeful. They just don't flat out die. But I think just too many things working against them, too many late game scenarios where Infinity just come up better. And really, their heroes just kind of ended up carrying them. Specifically, I think got to give a lot of credit over to Prada, because he is the one. I mean, so many glimpse backs, so many crucial encounters, and really so many times where every single time Ben just went in, he'd blink Burrow Strike. He wouldn't BKB beforehand because he needs that fast jump. It feels like he only has a few hundred milliseconds for him to find that opening, but because he doesn't lead with that BKB, well, Prada gets you with the Ags, you die, you don't have anything to give back out, the buybacks get forced. It was just a nightmare situation, but man, very well played from Infinity.
And yeah, as you said, that was really the thing that slammed the door on Ravens, because we saw a lot of the times once the BKBs came out, maybe not all of the cores, but enough of the cores on Ravens survived that initial static to try and put up some sort of fight. But you, you're just done. There's really nothing more that Ravens could have done there in terms of saving themselves, other than going back in time 15 minutes and itemizing differently. But that doesn't really pan out for them either. So Infinity, again, well done. They dropped the first match. They win back-to-back games, so they will be moving on to the upper bracket final. They will play against No Ping in 2 days. 2 days time. Yeah, sorry, dates were hard, but that will be the upper bracket final matchup. The winner of that will claim their spot in phase two. Meanwhile, for the lower bracket, it'll be Infamous versus Ravens. So again, those matchups are 2 days from now. We're going to sort of oscillate back and forth between NA and SA over the first few days of it. So we're hopping back over to NA for tomorrow. So I am desperately stalling right now because I'm waiting to hear word on an
We're not getting an
interview.
interview, Kmart.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, I could be the, we are not getting an interview. I could release the tension. You don't need to worry about that anymore.
So yeah, pretty damn sure. If anything changes, if producer comes in and says, "Hey, by the way, we got somebody," then we'll let you know, and we'll swing it back over to do that interview and then bounce. But for now, looks like we are going to be shutting things down here. So